8 crazy things that SJWs have actually said to me. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and if you are at all familiar with my videos, you'll have noted by now that I have clearly actually spent a very large amount of time communicating with fourth wave intersectional feminist social justice warriors. So much time that I have developed quite the wealth of stories about funny things that they've said. A few people have asked me to make a video where I simply talk about experiences that I have had with SJWs in the past. So here's a list of 8 things they've said to me that I thought were particularly funny. Funny thing number 1 happened when a friend of mine posted a status update on Facebook asking people what their least favorite words were, and so I listed mine: privilege, patriarchy, and problematic. Because, duh. To this, a female friend of hers responded, "Well, you must be part of the problematic patriarchy." Which I legitimately thought was maybe a joke. So I said, "Wait, are you serious?" I can't tell because feminists have become like a parody of themselves these days. I patiently awaited a reply, but unfortunately my friend ended up unfriending me for that. So I don't remember if anything else happened or if I was even able to see it. Maybe she blocked me. The next funny thing that somebody said was not exactly said to me, but was just a status update from this wretched girl who is super obnoxious, but seems like maybe she might be cool if she could stop being an SJW. More so, what's funny is that she is the type of SJW that seemingly sits around all day thinking about ways to outdo everybody she knows with SJWism, with statements like, "Don't you wish hackers were cool feminists like in Mr. Robot and not a bunch of MRA trolls?" Which is funny because apparently it hasn't occurred to her that if hackers are MRAs, both things might be symptoms of them being smart. My favorite example of her was one time she posted something to the effect of, "Just so we're clear, anytime somebody says that something is their spirit animal, that's totally racist." To which I ended up commenting, "Does anybody saying this stuff actually know which tribe the phrase spirit animal originated from?" And people were like, "I don't care, it's appropriation and that's icky and gross." I elaborated, "Well, if you're going to defend things, you might want to have a vague idea what you are defending and why you are defending it, so that when somebody crosses the line where you think that they have been offensive to the culture, you can help educate the person about the subject." Which makes sense, right? However, the girl who originally posted about spirit animals being racist actually deleted my comment because she's a feminist, and this was never actually about defending traditions to her. This was about her virtue signaling. And once I outdid her in sounding woke or whatever, she had to delete my comment like it didn't happen. The third funny thing somebody said to me is probably the most silly one, which is that some white guy with rather dark hair on my Facebook friend list somehow brought up something about people of color or some shit, and I think I made fun of him, being like, "Oh, let me guess, now you're saying that you aren't white." He got really upset, and what was extra funny was that instead of trying to bring up specifics about his lineage, he instead jumped immediately to mentioning that he has a purple penis, which I guess means he's not white. Though I will admit that I have actually noticed with some Latino guys that they do have purple penises. But it's just hilarious that he said that on Facebook in this context. Like when he's asked to prove that he's a person of color, he whips his dick out. The fourth funny thing that an SJW said recently was when a friend of mine who is a gay guy posted a picture of a hot guy with his legs spread on a bus and made a sarcastic comment about how horrible man spreading is and how it needs to be stopped. The funny part came when some middle-aged woman apparently didn't understand the sarcasm and the fact that my friend was actually celebrating a hot guy, and she posted something in agreement talking about how horrible manspreading is. She said something to the effect of, "As a woman, we deal with this all the time. I just want to have enough space to rest, but His Highness can't be bothered to even notice anything outside of his own kingly posture." Or something like that. I thought that the part about His Highness was particularly funny, and so I egged her on a bit, asking about how she could read his mind and determine what he was thinking, and she said, you guessed it, that it was because she had been a gender studies professor, so she understands this behavior all too well. I said something to the effect of, "Color me surprised. Has anybody ever explained to you in your gender studies that men have balls?" And she was like, "Fuck you!" You see, when feminists don't have any arguments, they'll very often just swear at you these days, which is pretty awesome if they are middle-aged women on the internet. So, yeah. The fifth funny thing an SJW said to me actually happened in person when I went to a 20-year high school reunion. I ran into this girl that I was kind of friends with in high school who is still friends with my sister, who ended up with a bit of a writing and blogging career. She had always been cool and quite funny in the past, but apparently her career demanded that she go full SJW. She's also a condescending asshole at this point, because when I tried to explain my YouTube channel, which I had literally just started within a few months prior, and I said I was on the non-social justice warrior side of things, her immediate response was, "So you're against social justice?" I don't remember what I actually said, but I definitely gave her a good cringy eye roll. I should have said, "Wow, lots to unpack here." Funny thing number 6 that somebody said on Facebook was just a bit awkward, which was this drag queen that I know who posted a super cringe-worthy status about rape culture, and how when he is dressed up as a woman, people feel entitled to touch his body, blah, 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 presumably at gay bars. Um, I didn't feel a need to say anything because he's actually a pretty nice guy, but I thought it was worth telling. Funny thing number 7 that happened relatively recently was that I was making fun of this radical fairy guy I know because he organizes events on this land that was founded to be a gay male sanctuary, but he allowed it to become infected with the intersectional feminist ideology and be tainted. It got so bad that I ended up making jokes that I am not even sure he followed. Like, at some point I said, "You should totally have a weekend retreat for queer Islamic women of color." And he was dumb enough to say, "I would love to do that. Do you have a group of queer Islamic women of color that I could contact?" Funny thing number 8 happened around the time that the Orlando shooting happened, and immediately a number of SJWs on my friend list made it all about racism because it was a Latino night, and I guess Pulse nightclub is commonly frequented by racial minorities. So people made it all about Black Lives Matter, if you remember. I posted a status update saying that it was kind of messed up that people were trying to make it all about race because the motive for the crime was really about demonizing queer people and mainly gay men. Well, some black gay male SJW friend of mine attempted to call me out, saying I sounded vaguely like I was saying all lives matter, which of course is a racist thing to say according to him. Obviously, I argued with him because he was bordering on ranting lunatic at that point, and he said something to the effect of, "I am sick of you and your orientalizing, or orientalization, or some of that type of nonsense. Some word like orientalizism, oriental, something with oriental in it." I asked what the hell he was talking about, and some friend of his said, "Why don't you educate yourself?" or something. Though, to be truthful, I had heard of the term Orientalization or whatever, and it basically just means that he was accusing me of having a fetish for Asian people or culture. But obviously, the term wasn't what confused me, but rather the fact that he made the accusation at all because we weren't talking about anything related to that. So then I looked and I realized that I had recently posted some photos of myself where I was with some friends who are an Asian couple with a baby, so I am fairly sure that he was referring to that. But I never did figure it out entirely because he blocked me. I guess I'm not allowed to have Asian friends because that makes me racist to him. All right, that's all. Drop me a comment. Help me out on Patreon if you think I seem cool. Please hit that bell button next to the subscribe button so I don't get unsubscribed, and stay tuned.